I'm Clinton Bonner. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Topcoder. And I'm here today with Soofi Safavi of Wizard.Fit. I've known Soofi for a couple of years now with some great work our teams have done together back with his company previous, which was Heavy Water. We'll talk about some of that detail. And what I want to tell the audience that's watching this and just seeing this for the first time is that this is going to be Soofi, I would call it a hyper-paced experience about what we're kind of go and show the world right here. But to bring everybody in right away to what we're going to do in the next, and again, we'll cover this too, but in the next 7 to 10 days, maybe just 7 days, we'll figure that out together. Soofi is going to be leveraging the Topcoder platform to bring an application to market right now in the midst of everything that's happening with coronavirus. This is our reality right now. For folks to understand, it's very late afternoon on the East Coast on Friday, March 20th, as we start this, capturing of all these motions and all these actions we're going to take together. So on 3/20, we're having kind of a first session, and we're going to cover this. We're going to put out our intention is to put out some pods and videos around this over the next 7 to 10 days, and then maybe something that wraps up a few weeks later. And before we get into a few more of those things, I just kind of want to say to everybody who's out there listening is, for me, and Soofi, please chime in where you want to, but for me, I see a lot of desperation. I see a lot of anxiety, and sitting here on March 20th, I don't think we felt the full pain of this quite yet in the US, the way that we saw it in China and obviously Italy and Spain and other countries that have gone through this, and Italy and Spain still very much going through the thick of it right now. So I think we're still probably, a week or 2 weeks out from really feeling some of the crunches onto our healthcare system and other things. And with all that, there is a lot of uncertainty economically, and of course, just, people with a lot of fears right now. And the piece for me, Soofi, is that on the other side of it is that I'm also seeing a lot of amazing community. I'm seeing a lot of people coming together, collaboration, innovation, fast tracking of things, and leading to a lot of hope and a lot of ways in which, yeah, it's dark right now, but ingenuity and people with people with the want and desire to bring good things to market that could better people's lives right now and then post COVID. It is an inspirational time, as dark as it is right now. So before we get into any details around what you're doing, Soofi, do you have any kind of just philosophical thoughts of like where we are on March 20th and how you see that kind of bifurcation of like fear and anxiety, but yet so much inspiration and community in what you're seeing in your day to day?
Definitely. I think, in any shape and capacity, and something that we're going to talk about, you see a lot of individuals, today we're going to talk about a little bit the fitness industry and what they go through, but I'm looking at actually these brave souls while they have zero income. They're putting Zoom videos out. They're trying to actually make sure that everybody's still healthy, and at their kind of in their capacity, and actually kind of means trying to move. So I think the hope is still out there, and I think all of us, we should feel motivated and responsible to be able to actually at any capacity figure out how we can weather this, but especially come out on the other side a lot stronger, a lot better, a lot innovative, and be able to ultimately have that as something that happened and made us better versus kind of collapse and kind of put us out of business and all that other bad stuff.
For me, the most important part is it's not just about surviving right now. Like, we're going to survive, we'll make it through here, but it is about finding another way forward. And maybe it's just that chance for so many people to take a new path and go down something, that just a new inflection point that brings new things together. And when they say, well, there is no, there's this new normal, or post COVID, the world is going to be changed and there's no going back. Maybe that's right. And also maybe it's better. And maybe there is a better path forward. And what I really want to hammer home with this series we'll put together is that all of this, we started this conversation yesterday. I hadn't seen you in a couple of years. I was down in your Philadelphia offices a few years ago. And then, I got a call from our CTO, Dave Messenger, saying, hey, Soofi has a really great idea. Do you want to chat with him? So we had our first conversation on 319 yesterday, and we're like, you know what? Let's put this out because this could be something special and just something uplifting that can just, and maybe I'm very hopeful, Soofi. You know, we could look back on this in 12 months and then look at what we're about to produce here and say, that was it. That was like, you know, emblematic of what people could do together in the moment to be innovative, and then when they come through a lot stronger. So anyway, thank you. I want to say thank you for coming to Topcoder with this idea, and then also being open to be so like transparent and collaborative to say, you know what, let's tell the world what we're doing in as near real time as we possibly can. Why don't we get into it? Why don't we get into, you know, a bit of like a how we got to now. I'll pass the mic and just let people listen, because I heard this yesterday and it was what kind of captivated me and said, hey, we got to tell this to more people. So Soofi, I'll pass the mic if you want to just, you know, tell people kind of how we got to now, what the idea that's burning in your brain and what you're looking to bring to market.
Thank you. So as you mentioned, our relationship with actually Topcoder go for a while. In September of 2015, I founded my previous company and had a very successful exit. But like any other actually kind of startup, sacrifice a lot. And actually one of the things that I sacrificed was wellness and fitness. So November timeframe, as actually things were slowing down and the transition was actually completing, I decided to just kind of get back to it with very radical goals. Taking the hot yoga 90 minutes, and I said, I'm going to do it every day. And nice. I've been doing it every day since late November. Traveled extensively for the holiday, but I still did it, no interruption. I did actually yoga in 3 continents, 5
nice.
Cities. I schedule my flight in a way that actually doesn't be able to do one here in Philly and then one in Buenos Aires when we land. And it was great. And I always kind of inspired with, especially the trainer athletes. These are, you know, individuals that they have to stay in shape. They compete actively, but they're really hustling to actually take classes and teach and inspire other individuals to be able to actually stay healthy and become fit. So I always in the back of my head to just say how this industry can be actually helped with. And during this whole you know, going back and forth, Monday happened, and I watch these poor souls all of a sudden just go through actually a period of uncertainty, nothing. They're literally, you know, teach 5-6 classes a day, and they're ultimately gonna get paid. And after Monday, there was no class. That means there's no income. And very devastating, and kind of right there, I started thinking, what's the solution? And I kind of inspired by some of them, because very quickly I saw them get on, you know, Facebook Live and Instagram Live and Zoom and try to actually put it. But you know, I think that was inspiring, but it still had a gap. You know, it's not going to actually feel like the real classes, especially in instruction heavy things like yoga. While you're in a down dog or you're doing this complex posture, you're not looking at someone, you're just actually suffering to get your forms right. and the whole actually point is for the trainer to look at you and actually correct you. And kind of that aside, an integrated system for them to be able to instantiate these classes, if they're doing it in a donation way, to be able to collect that seamlessly, it's not there, and they're just actually getting frustrated. Some of them, they're basically they're giving up. So that's kind of got me to say, maybe, you know, this is the entry point. This is the time to be able to rapidly and pivot on the original idea, which was kind of, at the end of the day, make sure the trainers and the facilities kind of in a sharing economy be able to actually come together. So we move away from some of these, you know, glorified gyms with actually very expensive membership. Let's pivot to be able to build a platform that these you know, great trainers, they can virtually teach classes, to be able to create a class, to be able to actually get paid for the class and ultimately conduct it. And that's a great actually way of coming in, because ultimately this virtual thing coming out of this might become the norm, might become the great norm, because connecting devices together to be able to not only look at me doing the yoga in the corner, I can actually show my stats from my iWatch and see how hard I'm trying, to be able to look at your peer to see how hard they're trying. It might just become a totally different environment. So I reach out to my contacts at Topcoder and they said, guys, you know, we need to be able to have this app up in a week. You know, these guys, they're struggling. There is actually there's no way for them to be able to survive. And the main thing is they don't even have an end. Like, this is not something to just say, you know what, survive for 6 weeks and everything gonna go back to normal. No one knows. And as a result, it just kind of create a lot more you know, anxiousness and make everybody uncomfortable. So literally Tuesday I started actually reaching out. Wednesday the team is coming together. Thursday we had a conversation, laying down the plan. Today we started actually executing, and you know, the first step of the plan is already underway, and we are hoping to be able to actually, matter of you know, 7 to 10 days, to be able to basically put something out there to be able to help these trainers. I personally kind of struggle a little bit. Like, every day I'm actually taking like 3 Zoom classes with some of these trainers to be able to see what are the flaws, what are the issues that they have, what makes the basically individual decide not to take those classes or not to pay for those classes. Is the limitation of technology? Is it actually the integration? Is it you know, ease of use, or not knowing how to set up the camera by their mat so they actually have that? So there are a lot of angles we have to figure out, but I think this is one of those moments that if we kind of push forward, we might have a totally and very successful way of actually conducting wellness and fitness across the globe, that ultimately bring a totally different reach, different actually kind of performance for all of us. So that was something that actually we talked about, and I really wanted to actually share that. Very excited to execute with the team, and hopefully get this app out, and hopefully celebrate the 1,000 classes that are actually going to happen on that very soon, sometimes in early April.
Yeah, I mean, well, anybody listening and watching, the passion certainly comes through, and you know, I want to remind people with Soofi, when you're saying, like, you know, I had this idea or this epiphany on Monday, like, we're talking Monday, March 15th, you know, we're recording March 20th. So it's just that collapse of that front end of how long does it take you to take something that is kind of that flux capacitor Doc Emmett Brown moment and say, I want to try that. I want to get this on a platform and get going. And again, kudos to you, because you have years of experience operating on the Topcoder platform, which of course we focus on virtual on-demand talent to get skills right on projects, and so you can work in a massively parallel fashion and really just collapse those traditional timelines. But I want to reinforce that for people, that it's like, hey, again, you know, in our darkest times right here, where folks are just trying to figure out, how the heck do I work remotely? What do I do? What are my protocols? There's this other side of so much opportunity to come through in a new way. So Soofi, I think you're going to be like a beacon of light for many that say, holy crap, I can work that way if I just you know, kind of free myself of I would say traditional enterprise blinders and kind of think in a new way. And really what you're trying to produce also from an application layer and this platform, it's also kind of the same thing. It's a nice analogy that you're trying to produce this brand new way. And a couple of things that I really want to make sure the folks who are gonna, I feel, get hooked into this in a good way is, number one is you want to make sure the platform is safe and secure for financial transactions, and make like dead for both, you know, both sides of that new marketplace. And I know, you know, you're making some technology choices around there. And then number two, because the type of instruction that you're talking about is so like form intensive, whether that's you know, a yoga, or it's something like just personal training, or just, my wife is a fitness instructor. She does all sorts of Tabata classes and bar fitness classes, and And, and I often take her classes, and guess what? My form is not very great. So she spends a lot of time with me to get my form right, because it's not about going super fast or doing the most weight you can do. It's about getting the form right so that you can progress with the right kind of baseline of knowledge of how to start to master something. So what you've seen so far is instructors using Zoom or other things like Facebook Live, and that's a great one-to-many platform. But really, can you give a little bit more detail on how you're looking to use the technology so that things that are form intensive, that the instructor could have a new experience, and when they have a new experience, that'll deliver something really interesting and new to the students that are taking the class?
Definitely. So I think it was Wednesday that I reached out to one of the trainers to just say, let's have a session. I want to work out, first, but second, I want to get the experience. And it was very interesting. So I'm a little bit more technology savvy. So I have the Apple TV. I'm streaming actually the Zoom session on the TV. I have the laptop set up on the couch, but still, half of the forms I'm standing and actually kind of visible, then I'll go down and just only the top of my head was known. And the trainer was trying to actually figure out what I'm doing to be able to actually correct me. And that showed me that actually it requires a little bit, maybe a little bit of a technology investment to just buy a $9 stand to put your phone and make sure you actually have the instruction to just say you put it in this corner with that height to be able to do that. And one of the things that actually, in addition to this whole kind of correction, is very inspiring in wellness and fitness, like yoga. I'm a fan of actually one of our teachers. He's a master, 78-year-old guy, and he comes and walks around. And while we are actually doing that, the whole time, I'm hoping for him, his name is Joel, to just correct me. And he tells me the one thing, and all of a sudden your form opens up. While I was actually doing the Zoom session, I would just imagine Joel sitting in front of his big screen TV with these boxes of students, and he can actually click in Zoom and says, "Hey, Soofi, this is horrible. Correct that and do it that way." And that way, he stay engaged, he stays safe, he's still inspired. And imagine you are actually in the darkest moment in your living room, and somebody call your name, care about you, correct your form. It just created a totally different comfort level to be able to kind of do it hard, stay healthy, and just kind of come out of this a lot better than what everybody anticipated.
Yeah, and it's a brand new value proposition, which is really exciting. And it's one of these things too. It's like, in the world of Topcoder, we see a lot of we see more and more enterprise uptake, and we kind of credit it to Topcoder's been around since 2001, and you've been using it for a while. But so many people are still kind of allergic to the idea of using a virtual or on-demand talent force, and now they're getting radically accustomed to it, just because of necessity. But one of the things that we've seen over the last couple of years is that B2C applications that really got people comfortable with, oh wait, I can get into a stranger's car and have a better experience and get there with more data and a cheaper experience, and get there faster and safer. Wow. And once they kind of got comfortable with some B2C applications that leverage crowd in those ways, then we started to see more and more people in the enterprise open up and say, wait, why would that be different with the way I want to work? And what you're looking to do is take it to another level of just experience and really giving fine-tuned lessons, live for individually for something so critical as like you said, your form. So I applaud you. I think it's a really, really cool concept. And what we're going to look to do over the next, I think Soofi, we said maybe 3 to 4 more conversations like this. We're going to look to kind of just keep people updated, give them an update, show them what's being built. And I think one of the cool parts is maybe in parts 2 and parts 3, we can get a little bit more technical. We can go into some of the game plans and some of the ways in which that you've decided to infuse technologies, what technology choices you are making, how the technology build is progressing. And then ultimately what we'd like to do is, we want to get this out to you want to get this out to the world, and I want to help you tell that story. And hopefully we can have a beautiful rainbow, and at the end of it, we can kind of see how it got out there, how many people are using it, how many lives are impacted, classes, like really good metrics to say, What's the adoption of that in a few short weeks, and how can we celebrate that as a really great example of, hey, it is tough right now, it's dark, but if you've got the kind of the gall or the inspiration that you could innovate right now, even though the world might seem upside down for you, if you're focused and you want to go do something, now's actually a really opportune time to do it, because man, oh man, are you going to shock the world when you come through the other way. Any other things you want to leave people with? Any words of wisdom or inspiring words so they come back for part 2, 3, 4, and everything else we show them?
Well, I think actually you mentioned the couple of things. Number one, the greatest ideas typically happen at the time of adversity. Everybody talks about the Uber story and actually the 2007 downturn. That idea was there for years in San Francisco. It didn't happen until we had a whole bunch of people, unfortunately, being unemployed and says, oh, what are we going to do? We're going to drive our cars. So I think it's actually, if we think that way and just kind of look at the positive way, that this is put us out of our comfort zone, and instead of being uncomfortable, let's actually be creative and innovative. And then the other thing that you talked about is changing the norm. This whole notion of design for trust. It's something that actually we are using to build the app. The pioneers of that are the Airbnb guys, to just say, you know what, always stranger was danger, but now we are just opening up our home to people and come stay. This is another one. This is to actually ultimately open up the trust and allows to actually communities form virtually, trust actually form virtually, and ultimately make the world a better place.
Yeah. Very well said. So we'll leave it there for part 1. We're going to check back in. I think we're going to schedule some time to talk, I think even on Monday or Tuesday, and see what's progressed at that point. And I think part 2, we could look at kind of, it'd be great. I think it'd be great if you take the viewers through kind of your visioning of what that MVP is going to do, what's it going to look like, and what's that game plan that you're working on with Topcoder. And then we could talk about timelines, technology choices, and get a little bit more nerdy and deeper into that stuff, which I think people are going to dig too. So, well, great, Soofi. Really appreciate the time. I know it's Friday. Have a great, relaxing weekend, and we'll talk real soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Soofi. Bye.